Hello students, once again I welcome all of you on this online teaching platform on behalf of Maratha Vidya Prasarak Samajaj, Srimati Bimlaben Khimji Tejukaya, Arts, Science and Commerce College, Devlali Camp, Nasik. I am Dr. Kiran Rakibe from the Department of English. In today's session, we are going to talk about the second half of the poem, My Last Duchess. Now, students, in the last session, we analyzed first half of the poem, My Last Duchess. We discussed each and every line along with its meaning as well as context. Then, we also discussed the setting of the poem, the place where the action takes place, where Duke, the central character, the speaker of the poem, who is talking to the envoy of the neighboring state, and he is showing the portrait of his last duchess to that messenger. Then during the discussion, we also came to know that the Duke, while talking about the duchess, reveals his own character as well as that of a duchess's character, which is one of the features of dramatic monologue. In the dramatic monologue, the speaker of the poem, through his speech, reveals his own character as well as the character of the person about whom he is talking. Now, let us see what we are going to discuss in today's session. The session agenda for today's lecture is, we are going to start the discussion of the second half of the poem, My Last Duchess. Further, we are also going to analyze the character of Duke and the Duchess in detail. And then, towards the end of the session, we are going to discuss My Last Duchess as a dramatic monologue, how all the features or all the characteristics of dramatic monologue can be applied to the poem My Last Duchess. Now, what are the learning objectives of today's session? What you are supposed to achieve towards the end of today's session? Students, towards the end of today's session, you will be able to understand My Last Duchess as a dramatic poem. You will also be able to analyze the character of Duke in detail and as well as that of the character of Duchess. So, first half of the poem we had already discussed in the last session, and now rest of the poem, the second half of the poem, we are going to discuss in detail. Students, we know that the Duke, let us have some recap about the previous lecture. The Duke is showing the portrait of the Duchess to the envoy, and while showing that portrait, he is talking about the nature of Duchess. How that glance which is there in the picture came there, or that spot on Duchess's cheeks. After talking about it, he also goes on talking about the heart of Duchess, how she had over-friendly heart, how her heart can be owned easily by anybody. Now, after talking about it, in the second half of the poem, we come to know that he further goes on talking about her nature and how her nature humiliated the Duke. Let us start the discussion. Sir, it was all one. So, in the earlier session, he was talking about how the Duchess going to appreciate each and everything. So, whatever she looked on, she liked, and the problem was that her looks went everywhere. And for her, whether it was a dropping of the sun, whether it was the white mule, each and everything was the same. So, here he continues his talk. So, it was all one, my favor at her breast. Favor means the gift given by the Duke to his wife at her breast. The dropping of the daylight in the west, the sunset, the dropping of the daylight that was there in the west, the bough of cherries, some officious full broke in the orchard for her. So, whenever any officious fool, any ordinary person used to offer her the bough of cherries, say for example like a flower, that flower as well as the white mule she rode with around the terrace. So, look at here, number 1, the gift given by the Duke to his own wife, which is at her breast. Number 2, the dropping of the daylight in the west, that is the sunset. Number 3, the bough of cherries, some officious fool means any ordinary person from that office broke in that orchard for her. And number 4, the white mule, the small horse-like animal, mule means, on which she used to have a ride. All these were equal in her eyes. All these used to give her the same kind of happiness to her. All these were appreciated equally by her, and therefore he thought that my gift, my breast, she ranked with ordinary things. So all and each, all these 4 and each would draw from her like the approving speech. Approving speech, the speech of appreciation. She used to appreciate all these things equally, whether it was the white mule, whether it was the bough of cherry, whether it was the sunset. These 3 were equally compared, equally appreciated by her with the gift given by the Duke to her. So, all and each would draw from her like approving speech or blush at least. Either the approving speech, either the words of appreciation or blush. It used to blush her. So, whenever she looked at the white mule, whenever she observed the sunset, each and everything used to blush her. She used to blush at least. She thanked. Good. She thanked these people. So, whenever any officious fool or whenever any person used to give her a gift or used to offer something to her, she thanked. It was okay for him. So, he said, she thanked men, good, but thanked somehow. He says that she thanked men, good, but thanked somehow. So, her way of thanking to men was something different, somehow. I know not how. I don't want to tell you. She used to thank men, but now I don't want to tell you her way of thanking people. It was beyond telling. It was humiliating on her part even to explain, to tell her way of approving speech, her way of thanking people. And why? What was the insult on his part? He says, he continues that she thanked men as if she ranked, she compared my gift of 900 years old name with anybody's gift. Look at here, look at the ego of the Duke. He was a very egoist person. It shows that he was a very egoist person, and he says that it was a kind of insult that she ranked, she compared my gift of 900 years old name. The gift given to her was not an ordinary person. There is a history, there is a background, and therefore it was something different, and she should have ranked it at a higher level. That was his expectations. But he says that she ranked my gift of 900 years old name with anybody's gift. With, look at the word, anybody's gift. Any common man's gift was equal in her eyes. That means the gift given by the Duke, the gift given by her husband, not only the husband, but by the Duke who had a history, who had a background, 900 years old background, that gift was compared or was ranked equally by her with a common man. And therefore, he says, Who would stoop to blame this sort of trifling? This was a kind of insult. This was stooping, lowering on my part. Her comparison, her ranking of my gift with anybody's gift was a kind of stooping for me, was a kind of insult for me, was a kind of lowering on my part. And therefore, who would stoop to blame this sort of trifling? Then look at here, look at his ego, the way he continues. He says, even had you skill in speech, even you had a skill in speech explaining her, even if you have a skill to talk to her, to explain her that you are doing something wrong, that is what he says. Even had you skill in speech, which I have not. Look at his ego. He says, I don't have that kind of skill. I don't have a skill of explaining people, telling people their fault, that here you are doing something wrong, or this hurts me, this insults me. Even if you have this skill, actually I don't have that skill. That's what he says. To make your will quite clear to such an one. To make your will quite clear. To explain, to clear your will, your desire that here you are doing something wrong. Or don't compare my gift with anybody's gift. Even if you have that skill, which actually I do not have, to make your will quite clear to such an one. One means such an idiot person. For him, his wife, the Duchess, is a kind of idiot person because she is not able to understand that my gift, or not able to understand that her husband's gift, her husband's offer given to her should have been something different. She should never equal it with anybody. That was his expectation. And therefore, he says that even if you explain to her that here you are doing something wrong and tell her that just this or that in you disgusts me. This kind of behavior, this kind of attitude, this way of comparing my gift with anybody's gift disgusts me, hurts me, insults me. Here you miss or there exceed the mark. Here you are missing something. Here you are missing the approving speech to your husband, or there exceed the mark, or while thanking someone, you are exceeding your limit. You should never thank somebody or any other person, common man, just like you are thanking your husband. So, there are kind of exceeding mark, going beyond the limit. Even if you explain her, even if you tell her that you are missing something or you are exceeding something, and if after telling it, after explaining to her, if she let herself be listened, she gets a kind of lesson and she changes herself. She understands, she accepts that it was my mistake, and she changes her attitude, nor plainly set her wits to yours forsooth, and made excuse. So, accepting her mistakes, accepting that she was doing something wrong, it was her mistake, and makes some excuses. Here you come to know the ego of that person, how egoist the Duke was. Even then would be some stooping. So, telling the wife that you are doing something wrong, and even if she changes herself, even that is stooping for me. That would be some stooping. That means, why should I tell her? Why should I explain her that you are doing something wrong? It was her responsibility. She should herself understand that she was doing something wrong. That's what his expectations were. So, explaining, talking to wife, explaining her or telling her mistakes was also a kind of insult on her part. I am the Duke, I am her husband, and therefore I should never tell her. Why should I tell her? Telling her, explaining her was also a kind of stooping on his part. So, he says that even then would be some stooping. explaining her, talking to her, telling her was also a kind of stooping. And I choose never to stoop. Look at it. It was a kind of insult, and I decided that I should never stoop. I should never lower myself. Stooping means lowering. Explaining wife, telling wife her mistake was also a kind of lowering. Why should I lower myself? It was her responsibility to understand herself. And so he says that even that, and I chose never to stoop. I am the Duke, I am her husband. I chose never to stoop, never to lower myself. Oh, sir. Further, he goes on revealing his character as well as the Duchess's character. He continues with this. Oh, sir. She smiled. When she was alive, she used to smile. No doubt, whenever I passed her, whenever I used to pass by her, she used to smile at me because I was her husband. I was the Duke, she was my Duchess. So it was natural that she used to smile at me. But who passed without much the same smile? So it was okay that whenever I used to pass by her, she used to smile at me, but who passed without much dignity, who passed without much name and fame, that means, that is to say that even a common man, when a common man used to pass by her, the same smile. Look at ego, suspicious nature. The kind of smile given by the Duchess to a common man was same as that used to be given to her husband. That is what he used to think, that she had a same smile. The kind of smile she used to give me, the same smile was given to a common man. This grew, this kind of nature, over-friendly nature. This shows that according to the Duke, his wife, Duchess, had over-friendly nature. She was a very over-friendly kind of person. And this grew, this kind of behavior grew. I gave commands. So finally, I had to give commands. And then all smiles stopped together. Here we come to know that it was the Duke who was responsible for the death of Duchess. It was the Duke who gave commands for killing his own wife. So he says, I gave commands to kill her, and then all smiles stopped together. There she stands. So when she was alive, she had this kind of nature, this kind of behavior, and that insulted him, that annoyed the Duke, and therefore he gave the commands to kill her, and now there she stands. There she stands means he is showing the portrait of the Duke, portrait of the Duchess. There she stands in the picture. There she stands in the portrait as if alive. The portrait is portrayed in such a way, so beautifully, that as if she is alive, she looks like a live person there in the portrait. Wilt please you rise? So when we started the poem, he requested that messenger to have a seat and look at her. Carefully have a seat and look at her portrait. Observe that, observe her beauty, and then he goes further, he goes on talking about her. And during that talk, during that monologue speech, he reveals his character as an egoist person. He reveals his character as a suspicious husband. All this kind of character is revealed by his speech. Then he also reveals Duchess's nature, her character, that she had a very over-friendly kind of person. She had a kind of heart which was very easy to impress. That's all he reveals through his speech. Now he requests the messenger, wilt please you rise? Please get up. We will meet the company below. So the portrait of the Duchess is on the upper floor where he was showing that portrait. Now we want to go down, sir. So because we will meet the company below. So below, the downstairs, some people, some company, some people, some guests were waiting for them. So he says that we will meet the company below. Then, I repeat, sir, the count your master's known munificence is ample warrant that no just pretense of mine for dowry will be disallowed. He says that I am repeating this thing. And what he is repeating, he says that the count, your master, known munificence, your master is well known for the generosity. He is a very generous kind of person. He has very generous nature. Munificence means generous nature. He is known for his generosity, and that is the ample, sufficient warrant, guarantee that no just pretense of mine for dowry will be disallowed. Look at the greed. He is a very greedy kind of person. Being the duke, he had some expectations in the form of dowry. Therefore, he says that whatever I demand, my demands will not be disallowed by him, because I know that your master is a very generous person. He is known for his generosity. So, whatever I will ask for, whatever I will demand in the form of dowry, nothing will be disallowed. Though his fair daughter's self, as I owed at starting, is my object. Even though at the beginning itself, I have told you that his daughter, fair daughter, beautiful daughter, is the first object. And even if I ask for some dowry, I know that nothing will be disallowed. Nay. We will go together down, sir. Let us go down, sir, downstairs. And while he is going downstairs, on the staircase, another picture is shown by the duke to that messenger. Notice, look at, see. Neptune, though taming a seahorse. Look at the picture in which there was a picture in which, what kind of picture was there? Neptune. Neptune taming a seahorse. So, in that picture, the seahorse is tamed, controlled by the Neptune, the god of sea. Neptune is the god of sea, which is controlling the seahorse. Now, it is symbolical. It shows that, look at here, it is also a kind of warning for the new Duchess. He deliberately shows that picture, and the reason behind showing that picture was that he wanted to show that I always tried to control, to tame my Duchess, tame my wife. He had that kind of nature, controlling people, and during the lifetime, he always tried to control or tame his own wife, Duchess. And in short, this is a kind of warning to the coming Duchess. Coming Duchess, new Duchess means he is likely to get married. He is likely to get married with his master's daughter, and therefore he says this is a warning. That means he expects that messenger that he should tell his nature to the Duchess. He should prepare his new Duchess. She should understand what kind of nature the Duke has, or what kind of expectations the Duke as a husband has from the new Duchess. So, look at that picture. Notice Neptune, though taming a seahorse, thought a rarity. It's a very rare picture. You cannot see, you will not find it everywhere. It's a rare kind of picture, which Claus of Innsbruck cast in bronze for me, which is prepared, which is made especially by the Innsbruck in the bronze for me. So, I had given a kind of order for this picture, and this picture is made in bronze. It's like a sculpture made of in bronze metal, and that is especially done for me. You will not find, it's a very rare piece of art. You will not find it anywhere. And here the poem ends. So, while talking about the poem, let us see some points in the form of summary. Now, during the discussion during the last two sessions, we try to understand the concept of dramatic monologue. What are the features of dramatic monologue? And you must have come to know that in a dramatic monologue, there is one speaker, There could be one or more listeners or sometimes imaginary listeners, but most importantly, the listeners do not verbally respond to the speaker, and that's why it is called as monologue. Right. Now, during the monologue, we also have come to know some other features like that. It has the speaker through his speech reveals his own character as well as that of others. Then dramatic monologue has a dramatic situation. So here the situation is that the Duke is showing the portrait of his last Duchess, and through the speech he also tries to give a kind of warning to his new Duchess. Then after that we also discussed, that means during the discussion we have come to know that the Duke's as well as Duchess's characters are revealed by his speech. So the Duke's nature, the Duke very egoist person, very greedy person, suspicious husband, and a very cruel man, because he was the responsible person for his own wife's death. He gave commands and then his wife was killed by the people. At the same time, through his speech, he reveals Duchess's character. Duchess, very beautiful. She was a very beautiful woman. She had a kind of heart which was very easy to impress, that could be impressed, that can be owned by anybody. She had a kind of over-friendly nature, according to the Duke, very over-friendly. That means she could smile at any person, she could appreciate anything. And number 4 is that she was a kind of flirtatious, she had a flirtatious nature. Flirtatious nature means that even a common man, she had the same kind of smile for even an ordinary person, even for a stranger. The kind of smile which was especially given to her husband, the same smile even to the strangers, and according to him, that was a kind of flirtatious nature the Duchesses had. Okay, so these were the discussion. Now, on the basis of these discussions, especially on the basis of today's discussion, let us have some session assignments. You are supposed to write answers to these 2 questions. Number 1 is write a note on the conflict in the poem. Conflict is one of the characteristic features of dramatic monologue. The conflict between two thoughts, the conflict between 2 situations, the conflict between 2 characters, and so on. Now, in this poem, you are supposed to write about the conflict between 2 characters also, the Duke and the Duchesses, 2 forces. The second question is that write down a note on setting of the poem My Last Duchess. Setting is also very important as far as this poem is concerned, and write down the setting where the Duke is showing the portrait, the Duchess is no more. And why setting is very important? Because he is showing that portrait on the upper stair, and while going downstairs he also shows another sculpture. So you need to explain all these things in your answer. Your answers are expected to be in around 10 to 15 lines or 10 to 15 sentences. So write down your answers and send them on my official mail ID, that is kiranrakibe1575@gmail.com. Another mail ID is that rakibe.kiran@mvpsvktcollege.ac.in. Thank you so much.